All right, welcome to the party, pals. GRC Mafia. We actually have quite a bit to cover today. It shouldn't be too bad at all. I definitely want to keep it to the basics, but we will be talking a little bit about Linux. Definitely a bunch of different resources that I'm going to drop as well. I wanted to actually show a command line of it as along the way too. I see Rania, Jeffrey, Cam, Ben Tech popping in. Welcome to the party, pal. GRC Mafia. So right out the gate, we also want to premise the fact that we're here to break down barriers, foster collaboration and community, working towards a more secure future, learning and growing together. Just want to, set that premise for each and every single one of our streams to get that environment set there. I hope everybody's having a great week. We've now officially made it to Wednesday at least, almost halfway through. So if you guys would like to come up, I have no issue dropping the stage link if you guys would like to come up and join the conversation, ask questions directly and so forth. Otherwise, definitely drop your questions or resources or whatever else in chat, whether that be on YouTube's end or in the Discord server itself or whichever other platform you're on. If you would like to share your personal LinkedIn profile or other social media, you are highly encouraged to do so. We all want to network and get to know each other and so forth. The best place to do that is inside of our Discord server though. So if you join our Discord server, you can hop into our live chat and post your links there and it'll go ahead and broadcast that to all of our different platforms. Welcome to the party, pal, Brexy. So even if you guys have questions or something that you guys want to share outside of what we're talking about at the time, definitely share that. Worst case scenario, we'll circle back around to that. That's if, one of the other knowledgeable people and so forth out there in the chat doesn't already resolve that for you. That's also like the huge benefit with Discord is you could just drop a question and get all kinds of different perspectives and so forth. Like, Chris Helgato dropped a thing for a ISO course, and then like 3 or 4 different people were like, oh yeah, I completed that, or oh yeah, I was looking at that, giving it a thumbs up. Awesome stuff. So today is our GRC Let's Get Technical portion. Tomorrow is our actual meeting, which is going to be the open stage. So the middle of the month, the first 2 weeks, we always have speakers. The middle of the month, we have our open discussion, no planned topic or otherwise. We just hop up on stream and just casually talk, tea time, whatever you want to call it. And then the last Thursday of every single month is when we have our job readiness and group resume review. So we'll go ahead and process through here. Oh, and if you guys do share something that you don't want to be public on accident or otherwise, just reach out to me on Discord or LinkedIn, or you can also contact me at contact@studygrc.org. Now, also we have our website here. I have it up on screen. I'm actually going to go ahead and pull it up in another tab here in a moment as well. So, but you can find the rest of the platforms that we stream to: X, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn. It just kind of depends on your preference, of course. But the big key things on our website is going to be the calendar, which is going to provide you the most up-to-date information on what's coming up. And then also our resources page. And we're always looking to expand the resources page as well. There's a bunch of different information on there. I don't know an exact number, but I would probably say it's comfortable to say 50 different resources maybe, but we could easily expand that to several hundred. We just have to, continually add to it. And then also, of course, B-Dubs' website, britwhite.io, dropping an article related to cybersecurity, GRC every single Monday, along with a video read-along even, and doing the CISSP study group, which is 100% free for anybody along any stage of where you're at right now. So, and a couple things I wanted to note is, so the giveaway, if you guys aren't familiar already, definitely hop into the Discord server, go over to the giveaways channel, and then just click on participate. We have 29 participants right now because next Thursday, so not tomorrow, but on the 27th, the bot will automatically draw one winner for the HIPAA conference. It's a virtual conference coming up. I believe it's April 10th and 11th. That will be covering like HIPAA assessments, AI inside of healthcare, and a bunch of other awesome stuff. Every single month, Study GRC goes through and does a giveaway. We did get sponsorship for that from cyber.com. So, and I'll go ahead and drop their link in chat too. It's not a requirement whatsoever, but they are an awesome resource. They have a bunch of free hands-on AWS labs as well. And they've been kind enough to go through and support that giveaway for everybody every month. PBO hopping in chat. GRC Mafia. You guys, were you guys able to tune in to PBO's late night show last night? Every Tuesday night? All right. And so one of the things I wanted to mention here, let me get this name taken out. If you guys weren't familiar, my name is Chris Whitlock, but I just wanted to show you this real quick as well. We have that giveaway that's going to be drawn on the 27th. So definitely hop into that if you haven't already. But then also on our website here, if you click on the envelope, that takes you over to our contact page. And I just wanted to shout this out because not only can you submit, we want to set this up. We wanted to set this up for as little data as possible. Like we don't have analytics tracking or that kind of stuff on our website in the first place. Outside of Cloudflare, that is, whatever basic stuff they have for the security side of it. So you don't have to put in your name, email, or Discord tag if you would not like to, but definitely for feedback, suggestions, whatever else, but also to submit your redacted resume. As of right now, I believe we have 2 submissions for the 27th. So not tomorrow, but next week on Thursday for our job readiness and group resume review. So if you would like to submit that, this is the best method to do that. We did add this warning on here, which I think was a great piece of feedback that we got, just letting you know that it will be scanned by VirusTotal. So like if you just DM us your resume, no. Like honestly, it's just a lot of work to have to pull everything open into a virtual machine and run it through VirusTotal anyways and so forth and whatnot. So we went ahead and set this up to just make it the whole process easier for everybody. And then we do try to set this up to be anonymous. So if you would like to attend the meeting and, you know, let people know, oh, that one's mine, that's up to you. Otherwise, we do prefer to just have it anonymous. Bam. And then I'm going to go ahead and transition over to this. So this is the little presentation that I threw together here. Why is it looking so weird there? Let me go ahead and move this around. I might just import this or something, to be honest. It has to do like with the resolution, I believe, and it won't let me reset or anything. I wonder if I'll be able to do it this way. Let me play around with this for a moment. How's everybody's week going so far, though? Success? For whatever reason, it's not letting me actually make this full screen. And I don't understand. All right, well, we'll go ahead and run it. If I learned anything from PBO, it's, you know, just keep the show going, right? Definitely picked up a few different hints from his struggle streaming. So yeah, we just wanted to cover over some of the different basics about Linux and why we should even care, especially from the GRC side of things. Let's see here, just trying to double check chat there as well. And so I'm going to go ahead and progress through this. This should be relatively quick. If you guys have any questions along the way, definitely let me know. We've talked about some of this in the past as well, and we're just trying to slowly progress into the GRC Let's Get Technical. I will be making the schedule for next month this weekend. You'll be able to see that on our calendar. One portion of that is I actually want to start doing some of the labs, and what I'll probably do is actually do some of the basic labs that are freely available that you guys can actually go through at the same time if you'd like. On Cyber. So what is Linux? Free open source software. It's widely used. That's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to mention this, is because a lot of different people on that GRC side, or people who are interested in getting into, whether it be the information security or GRC side, I've noticed a large portion have little to no technical experience, and then they kind of struggle on, well, where should I spend my time? What do I need to know? And so forth. We did an entire video on like how much technical do you need to know? And the basic conclusion of that is you can never really know too much about the technical side of things. The more you know, the better. But it is what I see as a constant battle, a constant balancing act of, okay, well, you know, you're never going to learn it all. So then you have to kind of balance that, staying up to date and learning more GRC and also that technical technology side as well. So Linux kind of flows in with that as well, but at least from a get-go, understanding what it actually is and why we should even know about it at all is kind of a fundamental step in my opinion. So like I mentioned here too, is that it's in embedded systems, your smart TV, a lot of routers and firewalls. Even Android is originally based off of Linux. They have their own custom version of it now. And so Linux is really everywhere. You may not even know it, but you've definitely used it in the past. Another big step, which I also believe I mentioned later on, is that it's also most of the web servers that are out there. So there's also Windows Server, which is also used, but Linux is by far the majority. I am not sure the actual percentage of that, but it is well over 80%, if not more. There's a lot of other things coming out with that though too. And yeah, there's a lot of information with this. So why GRC professionals should care? Like I was just mentioning, is Linux is everywhere. In firewalls, routers, your cell phone, all kinds of different devices. So that is one of the biggest reasons. And understanding the environment is extremely crucial. Communication, the ability to talk with other departments. So when you're talking with your network administrators or a system admin or whoever it is that you're communicating or interviewing with, at least understanding some of those fundamentals would be really beneficial. Like you may not use it that much or otherwise, but at least that gives you a little bit of an in. Let's see. Yeah, and like Cam mentions, it's always a daily task on prioritizing growth between technical learning and application practice. Yeah, and like I had mentioned that on the why you should learn technical, but then also the self-study in the golden age is, especially in GRC, I see it as a massive struggle on that balancing act, because it's a middleman type of role largely. And so like no one person can learn it all. You can get pretty proficient with some of it, but it is literally a lifelong journey. So yeah. And that's one of the biggest things that I've also seen talking with a lot of practitioners, like PBO, for an example, and a lot of other people out there where, you know, like PBO's still learning every single day. Like he's still studying that CISSP. He's still working inside of AWS and doing labs and so forth. Like, and he's got 30 plus years of experience. So yeah, that's definitely a big highlight. And then also that understanding aspect, which kind of coincides with the communication, but also I added that understanding portion because it's inside of your environment. So whether you're in the cloud or you're doing on-prem or whatever it is, chances are is that it's used across many different businesses, a large majority. So it's somewhere along that line. Now there's two different things that I wanted to mention here. So there's a command line, which is what I think a lot of people think of when they think of like a web server or Linux in general is command line, but there's also the GUI. So it's also stated as GUI. So graphical user interface is what that stands for. And I have an example of that on the right-hand side. So on the right-hand side, that screenshot there is of a particular type of Linux, which is called, so they have different distributions, so distros, one of which is Ubuntu. I'm sure you guys in chat are going to have your own opinions on it and so forth. There is definitely, I wouldn't say, you know, everybody may have their own favorite type of Linux. There's hundreds of different types out there. Ubuntu is one of the popular ones. I'll just run through a few of them. So like there's CentOS, there's Kali Linux is technically one too. There's Ubuntu, there's Mint, there's, you know, all kinds, there's Arch, there's Parrot, there's a lot of different out there. I would probably say that there's at least 24 popular ones that run Linux in the background. And that's what they're based off of. I personally typically will run Ubuntu just because it's quick and easy. I personally feel like that is the easiest thing, easiest distro to get started with. So Red Hat, yeah, which is, yeah. especially in enterprise, Red Hat is really popular. I looked into Red Hat before PBO2, and like it's actually really neat because you could run your Red Hat servers or otherwise, and then you have your Red Hat workstation, and they have all kinds of like specialized software, it appears, in order to like run those data centers and so forth, is what I was looking at before. And Red Hat, I believe, is paid only, isn't it? They don't have a community. Their community edition is what, Fedora, which is a dumbed down version, if I'm correct on that portion. Space Taco's hopping in as well, GRC Mafia. And so I just wanted to showcase this portion here, and there's a couple different examples I'm going to pop up here in a moment too. So you can see this example. So the GUI, it's the exact same thing with Windows, I mean, is you have a graphical interface. You don't have to interface with the command line directly. So it's like a program in between that communication factor. So that's a great example, but then also I'm going to go ahead and transition over to this. So I'm going to drop this in chat. This, I think, is an amazing resource. This allows you could literally just go to this website here, and I believe so it's running a type of Linux distro that's called Alpine, and you could run some of the basic commands on here. And so this is the command line version of Linux. So like I can go ahead and do ls for an example, which lists out the different files in that directory. So, and I'll provide some other resources here shortly as well that you can coincide with this. This is something you could run on any machine, just inside of your web browser, and it's for $0. So this is something that's neat to play around with. And I would coincide this with another resource I'll drop in a moment, but this is kind of like what you would expect for the command line. You can also see something similar with this if you were to type in CMD on Windows, and because Windows also has their own command line. Now the commands are different between Windows and Linux, but getting a little bit familiar with that is not a bad thing whatsoever. Now you could actually run Linux perfectly fine as a workstation. There's a lot of like compatibility and other factors that are involved too. Like a lot of people, including myself, don't run Linux as a primary. I still run Windows as a primary, just because of compatibility issues with graphic cards and multiple displays and things like that. So definitely varies, but you can also throw that into a virtual machine as well. And so the second stage here is Linux Journey. I'm going to go ahead and transition over to this page now. So Linux Journey is actually a resource that B-Dubs had shared with me a few months back, and I'm dropping that in chat. So the cool thing with this is that they provide all kinds of different walkthroughs. And so if you want to learn more about Linux, whether it's the command line or permissions or user management, there's a lot of different things that are in here. And there's so much to learn about Linux. You don't have to learn it all, but at least getting some of the basics down wouldn't be a bad thing. It has a different type of file system compared to Windows as well. Logging would be another one I would look into. So like logging, that's something where like in an organization, we would have our Linux web servers or our Linux servers. Those logs would be aggregating into our SIM. So understanding a little bit more on that and just some of this stuff is really awesome. And they also have like network basics on here, subnetting, routing, all kinds of different awesome stuff. So this is a really good resource as well. They provide some additional resources at the bottom too. One of the other things I want to shout as well, and I'll try to get these links in the description below as well for Team Replay, but this is a really good video. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more about it, this is a 2 hour and 47-minute video, and it is a walkthrough for Introduction to Linux. And it also includes a walkthrough for setting it up with VirtualBox. So you download an application called VirtualBox, which will allow you to actually, if you have the hardware. So you may have an issue if your computer doesn't have enough resources available, whether it's the processor or memory, but you can run this on your own machine as well inside of Windows. And if you guys have any questions, definitely drop those. And you can also throw that kind of stuff into the Discord server as well. So definitely just ask questions. especially along the way if you guys struggle with anything in particular. And so like I dropped this JS Linux one, which is a very basic command line for Linux just to play around with some of the basic commands. Ideally, you would set something up in a virtual machine or in the cloud itself. Let's see. But yeah, this is a really great walkthrough that they have here. And then let me pop back over here. So that's, you know, the text-based and GUI, and then also Linux Journey, and then virtual machines. And so I dropped the YouTube video of that gives that walkthrough. Chris Holgado mentions Pop! OS for NVIDIA cards. So easy. To be honest with you, Chris, I don't know if I want to even try. I've tried to set up and run Linux as a primary like 3 or 4 times on the device I have now, and I've just had no luck whatsoever. So I have heard that Pop! OS has good support for it, but it's not worth trying another attempt. I would personally prefer to run Linux as a primary though. So, and if it wasn't for the graphic cards, the compatibility issue with graphics cards, I would actually be able to. Like everything I do is in the browser pretty much anyways. There's no programs that I run that are not compatible with Linux. So one of my issues with Pop! OS though is my understanding is that the community is not as big because that's run by System 76, or at least started by. I would just be worried about it being maintained, I guess. I'm not sure like what they base it off of. Welcome to the party, pal, Rothnir. Oh, and also Josh is hopping in too. Josh EC. GRC Mafia. 2 hours, PBO, did you make that video? Oh, Space Taco is already, firing shots. Shots fired, PBO. Yeah, 2 hours and 47 minutes for this YouTube video. If PBO did an entire intro to Linux, it would probably be more like 9 hours or something. But, you know, hey, more power to them, right? GRC Mafia. Now, like an example here is going to be real world example. So fintech, so a financial tech company needs to secure 100,000 payment servers for PCI compliance. All right, well, the firewalls have Linux, access controls, and logging is inside of Linux. Servers, firewalls, EDR systems, a lot of this different stuff. Cloud is largely going to be Linux as well. You can also set up those automations. And so like it mentions, create Linux scripts to continuously monitor compliance requirements. And so like for an example, Ubuntu Pro I had mentioned before, and on Ubuntu Pro, they do have a special program, a script that you can run. I think it's called USG or UGS, that you can go ahead and actually audit and assess your CIS compliance at least. And there's a lot of other scripts that are out there as well. This is also where like STIGs could come in and all kinds of different stuff. But then also another portion of automation would be feeding that system logs and so forth into, and configuration files even, into a SIM or compliance software as well, which just helps you in the long run. So I wanted to showcase that, really you can't get away from Linux. And I mean, it's kind of, I don't think it's possible to get completely away from Linux. So let's see here. Now, some of the key takeaways here is starting small. Now, I'm not saying that anybody needs to go off and, you need to start running Linux on a daily or anything like that. There are a lot of advantages to Linux. Typically, it uses less resources. It's more efficient. It's not as bloated as Windows. A lot of other people will talk about how, you have more customization, you have more control, it's open source. You'll also hear people say that, it's safer because there's not malware out there. That is a lie. That is not true. I definitely wanted to make that, throw that out there, that yes, there are viruses and malware that are directed at Linux. However, because Linux makes up such a low majority of the market share, it's not as common. But you could also be, a spearphished attack or, otherwise. Josh mentions my first Linux was Red Hat 7. Shout out to us old folks. Isn't it like isn't Red Hat up to like 26 or something now? I don't even know. I'm sure it's over 20. I'm actually looking it up real fast. Oh, that's not too bad. Okay, so it looks like Red Hat 8 was released back in 2019. I don't know what the current release is. Oh yeah, so they're running 9.5 right now. So that's not that bad, but it looks like they do have somewhat of a slow cycle. I think PBO's got some of those old Microsoft certs too. Yeah, Space Tacos mentions everything had malware. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, yeah, I've heard people talk about like, oh, you won't get viruses or anything with Linux, but that's just simply not true. That's not how that works. So, and there's still a lot of different things that are compatible as well. So like, for an example, the browser plugins, which like I was reading an article recently where there's been a huge increase in browser add-on, browser extension hijacking and attacks. So like there's actually threat actors out there who are actually buying existing apps for the browser extensions that may have 200,000 users, and then they're maliciously updating those or changing those or otherwise, or even just completely releasing a new extension, and it ends up being malicious in one way or another. It's something like 160% increase in the last 12 months or the last year for browser extensions. And so that's actually a pretty big thing that's going on that I was reading about a few weeks ago. Yeah, and so like Ross Neer mentions, it's not as common from my understanding. As Linux gets more market share, that'll change. One of the things I'd mention though is also Linux servers are extremely common. And so I think there's way more out there for that portion of it. But yeah, I mean, it's still out there. Chris Holgado mentions that's exactly what happened to Cyber Haven in December. Yeah, I think Jerry mentioned that through that CISO series article. So yeah, there's like a huge, massive increase. And like, for an example, I only have one browser extension and that's it. So I'm very hesitant to install anything else. There's a lot of different services out there that have browser extensions, and I'm good. Everything I do is in the browser. So that's going to be one of the big things that I want to protect. Now, key takeaways. So starting small, what I was saying is that you don't have to learn it all. Just digging into it a little bit, understanding where Linux is used, that it's a different type of operating system than Windows, and some of those basic commands may come in handy to start with. I think something like that 2 hour, 47-minute video would be a really good starting point. If you can go off and start up a virtual machine, or even better yet, go through and set it up in the cloud just to play around with a little bit more in depth, I think that would be an amazing hands-on experience as well to get some practice with that. It's used all around the world, globally, in all kinds of different systems. So that's why it's something you should know at least what it is. And then also, understanding it more and communication can help with that GRC side of things. So, bam. And that's pretty much what I wanted to cover there. I can go through and share more of these resources as well. I could drop some of these too, if you guys would like. If there's any questions, definitely drop those, or if you guys want to come up on stage or otherwise. Let me move back over here real quick. Chris Holgado mentions, if you have, let me pull this up. So if you have Chromebook, you can turn on the Linux terminal and it's already containerized. Bam. I haven't played around with a Chromebook in many years. So it was probably like 5 or more years ago. I think I picked up I think somebody gave me like a really cheap Chromebook at one time. I really didn't care for it. And let me see. One of the things I do kind of like is that a lot of these different websites are still like, I would say like, I don't know, maybe late 90s, early 2000s style. So like this is DistroWatch. They've been around for a very long time. It looks really old and outdated because it kind of is, but it's not really outdated. You could see here, let me zoom in a little bit more. You could see these are recently updated. And so DistroWatch keeps track of all of these different types of Linux that are out there. If you look on the right-hand side here, you'll see like Linux Mint at the top. Let me see, can I make that a little bit different? Let me check how you guys can even, if you guys can even see that well. Yeah, so on the right-hand side for the different rankings, so like Linux Mint at the top there, MX Linux, Endeavor, OS, Catchy OS, Debian, Pop OS is 6th place, and this is over the last 6 months. Page hit ranking, so this is the amount of people or hits to those pages at least. Ubuntu, Fedora, OpenSUSE, Zorin, Elementary, Anti-X, Tuxedo I've played with many years ago. Nix OS is also a really interesting one. That's one that you can actually run inside of VirtualBox. It's kind of unique. That's a cool one to actually dig into. Something I never really got much into is like the free BSD. We got Kali Linux in 21st. So you can see here that there are a lot of, here's Alpine. So Alpine 28. And so that Linux command line that I have up over here that you can access in your web browser, which I'll drop in chat again real quick. That's what this is actually running as Alpine. To give you somewhat of an idea there. And Cam mentions this is a great motivation and a solid jumping off point. Thanks. Have you seen any value in the mobile app Learn Linux apps? I personally, I'm kind of with PBO on this in the fact that I also, just like I don't really just install browser extensions, I also don't just download mobile apps either. Especially on Android, there's not as much of a review process. And I'm very picky and choosy on what I actually install on my device. And so there's already plenty of resources that are out there. YouTube is a really good resource to learn more about it. You know, maybe you do prefer a mobile app for it, but that's not something I have really done anything with, and it's not really something I would highly recommend. When you have to download things and give it permissions and stuff, like, yeah, that's going a little far. Brexy mentions you can now take any old laptop and install Chromebook Flex. Yeah, that's something I haven't even looked at all either. Taking an old laptop. So like, I don't know if you guys can see it on here. One of the other things that I want to do as well, let me take this down. So you guys should be able to see the laptop back here on the desk. That is actually, I technically have two different operating systems on there. I have Ubuntu on the actual hard drive inside of it. And then inside of a USB, I run Tails OS. So those are two different Linux distros that I run off of that machine. And that's just a cheap Dell laptop. That's actually what you'll see me running around with at the conferences, just because it's really lightweight. Does its job. Chris also mentions try HackMe has a great Linux rooms. And that's actually one that I forgot to even throw out there is try HackMe. So they also have the Attack Box, which is a Ubuntu Kali Linux mixture there. So my understanding is it's Ubuntu, but then they loaded on the packages, the actual programs from Kali. Cam mentions fair points. I was just looking or thinking of options for my doctor's waiting rooms in the car, wash, etc. I do try Hack Me daily, and so I've at least been around it or used it on VMs. Yeah. Well, and so also if you get something like a Raspberry Pi, I think I have mine over here. So like this is a Raspberry Pi 4, and so also with this you can pick this up for like $50 or so, and you could run a full Linux operating system on here as well. There's a lot of different things you could do with this, but it's actually really easy. They actually have software that you can download onto your Windows machine. You can install an operating system onto a USB drive or into an SD card that goes on here. And you could run all kinds of different stuff. And the main reason why I mentioned this is you had mentioned a waiting room. And so I know of a place nearby me where I ended up helping them set up a Raspberry Pi, which just plugged into the TV. And so I mean, this is some of the different like hands-on stuff that we could do on live stream too. But so with a Raspberry Pi, you can take an HDMI cord. And so this is a, I think it's mini HDMI that plugs into here. And then it goes into an HDMI. And so then you can actually install a system on here that's actually designed for like waiting rooms and menus and so forth. You know how like you go into McDonald's and they have their menu up. It's a billboard software operating system that's running off of a Linux. So, and it's extremely easy to set up. You can get something working within an hour. It's very, very easy. So I wanted to throw that out there. Yeah, and I'll throw these resources into the description below after this video. I can also drop these in chat on Discord as well. If you guys have any questions or otherwise, definitely drop those. Otherwise, we'll probably be bringing it to an end here in a moment. I definitely want to stick around and answer any questions you guys might have, or if you guys have more resources, like Chris had mentioned, Try Hack Me has a bunch of stuff, and their attack box is also a really good reference. Jeffrey mentioned Ubuntu Core forced me to learn Linux. And the Discord server is an awesome place outside of our streams as well. And definitely don't miss out on that giveaway either. We still got 29 participants as of right now for that HippoCow virtual conference, April 10th and 11th. I will be attending that as well. And then tomorrow is just our open discussion. So tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time, we'll have our weekly meeting, which is our primary each week, and just open discussion. So definitely bring some questions, topics, whatever you guys are working on and so forth, and we could talk to more depth on that as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring this to an end then. But yeah, thank you all for hopping in and joining us today, GRC Mafia. I will catch you guys in Discord and see you guys tomorrow. You guys have a great rest of your day. GRC Mafia.